Dr. Balthazar here. So when the Acolyte trailer dropped back in April, I speculated that it was a bit early for the pitchforks or the Grand Parade. As I'm recording this, we're 3/4 home on an 8-part series, so I think we can safely call time of death on this thing. On Rotten Tomatoes, over 25,000 viewers have rocked the vote, with only 14% to the good. That puts it in rarefied air right there. The indie trash cult classic Birdemic, Shock and Terror, which can make a strong claim to being the worst movie ever made, still manages a 27% approval rate off 1,000 votes, which is a large enough sample size to be statistically reliable. So is The Acolyte more unpleasant to sit through than Birdemic, Shock and Terror? I'm not in the mood for one of my usual film essays, so fuck it. Let's give these turkeys a watch and just make a few observations. So I'm going to stick to my preferred film analysis categories for a little channel continuity. If you're riding shotgun on this fantastic voyage, why not like and subscribe? Help me climb my way out of small channel hell. Or if not, that's okay too. Thanks for your time. So let's start with some background and context. Birdemic, Shock and Terror was released in 2010 and was the brainchild of writer, director, producer James Nguyen of I Don't Care What fame. Although in the movie's trailer he self-describes as visionary director James Nguyen. So I don't think we're dealing with a man with a preponderance of self-awareness. The Acolyte launched in year of our Lord 2024 and is the brainchild of showrunner Leslie Headland of personal assistant and principal henchman to serial rapist Harvey Weinstein fame. Point to Birdemic. For having no connection to workplace conditions that allowed for women to be violently assaulted and their perpetrators to get away with it. Birdemic was produced on a budget of 10 grand, although the birds that create such shock and terror make it look like 9,998 of those dollars were spent on something other than special effects, and managed to violate almost every licensing requirement, industry standard, and local ordinance in its production. The Acolyte was produced on a budget of 180 million United States dollars, and at least superficially looks like what you'd expect from a Star Wars project. Point to Acolyte?
Yes.
For staying within the legal frameworks of the industry. As an indie-rific film, Birdemic's promotion was largely non-existent, although Nguyen did roll up on the Sundance Film Festival to pass out flyers that misspelled the name of his movie. The Acolyte's promotional game plan has been pulled from the standard Disney playbook. Show reporters for digital publications that depend on Disney's advertising revenue enthusiastically push the show. This number was at 90% approval after the first episode. The race, ethnicity, and sexual identity of the cast and crew are emphasized to subtly gaslight viewers by suggesting if they don't like what they see, it's probably due to a lack of sensitivity towards marginalized groups. And when mixed or negative responses start coming down the pipeline, everyone involved claims victimhood and launches in a significantly less subtle attacks on viewers that don't profess a love for the show. It's been one of the more tone-deaf publicity campaigns in the profoundly negative and accusatory history of Lucasfilms under Kathleen Kennedy. Point to Birdemic. Spelling is hard for cretins, but if you're calling your audience bigots because they don't enjoy your work, maybe you're in the wrong line of work there, playa. The storyline of Birdemic is a guy meets a girl he wants to bone. He works away at that for a meaningful period of time.
Day without sex is a day wasted, man.
Feral mutant birds then attack, forcing them to take to the road, where they cross paths with various shitheads and defend themselves with machine guns and coat hangers. In the end, some other birds tell the mutant birds to fuck off, so they fuck off. It's a derivative of Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds from 1963, slapped together with a bland love story and nonsensical references to global warming, presented with amateur cinematography, terrible pacing, and truly cringeworthy dialogue. I felt like Animal from the Muppets playing the drums on a slow tempo, trying not to lose my shit while grinding to the next commercial break. The storyline of The Acolyte is a force-wielding assassin is killing Jedi with a mystery connection to a past atrocity on her home planet. The Jedi believe her twin sister to be responsible for the murders, until they don't. The sisters learn each other are still alive, which they were already aware of, except when it didn't serve the plot. So the assassin who is killing Jedi with and without weapons, which her Sith Master told her couldn't be done,
Steel or laser are no threat to them.
decides to betray said Master, but before she can, he kills most of the Jedi himself and the twins trade places.
Stolen from the cradle and fostered to manhood by his Montague mother that was robbed of her own child by the Pirate King.
What the fuck is this bullshit? I feel like my head is going to explode. This is low-grade fan fiction, and I say that because so much fan fiction revolves around writers putting themselves into someone else's story, which is fine. As a rule, I encourage creativity, and for a fan, that's a creative way to engage with an IP. But rather than writing a coherent story and finding a practical part for themselves to play in it, inexperienced writers tend to devise a collection of disconnected scenes that play to their interests, which they struggle to join together into a cohesive narrative. You can kind of tell which random scenes they like the idea of and see the problems they have getting in and out of them. Headland likes the idea of one of the twins escaping in a crashing prison ship, so the story contrives a way to arrive at that scene. Headland likes the idea of her off-screen wife wielding a lightsaber whip, so the story contrives a way to arrive at that scene. That sort of thing. Anyway, both productions showcase astoundingly bad writing in their stories. Point to Birdemic for being the work of one half-wit, as opposed to The Acolyte, who credit no less than 10 different incompetents with writing this dreck.
Listen, it's a pathetic story. It's pathetic.
For characters with either a meaningful character development arc or a charismatic embodiment of a personality type, we do not have an entrant by either production. As an associated substitute category, we'll take acting performances, I guess. The actors in Birdemic cannot act. The actors in The Acolyte who come from Europe and the United States are marginal at best. And the actors from Asia apparently still apply themselves to the craft of acting rather than brand enhancement. Point to The Acolyte. For world building, the mutant birds in Birdemic spit acid and explode because global warming caused a new bird flu virus. So, how does a respiratory infection in the family Excipitridae order of falconiforms provide for combustion and corrosion? It just does. World of contrivance of no governing rules. Meanwhile, the Acolyte goes so far out of its way to break the Star Wars canon with wildly overpowered force abilities and character retcons, it may take your mind off the fact that no laws governing the physics of time and space are adhered to in the slightest, even allowing for a universe of space wizards. If canon established that no Sith existed for 1,000 years,
the Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
Just set the show 1,001 years prior, or 1,000 years in the future. Point to Birdemic for not undermining others' work by having no regard for the continuity expectations that come with a pre-established universe. Like it or not, you have to abide by the rules of canon if you're working on a prequel or an inherited IP. For themes, Birdemic pushed Al Gore's politically motivated environmentalism schlock about fossil fuels throughout the movie, which is consistent with asshole quasi-activist concepts of global climate change, and that they're given no deeper consideration than the behaviors of my political opponents are to blame. Fuck this theme. But I will say, with 8 billion people on a planet suited to approximately 2.5 billion, human behavior stopped having relevance several billion newborns ago. What did you think gross overpopulation was going to look like? The Acolyte takes a more allegorical approach to the theme of gender identity and expression, which gives viewers the option to take it or leave it, which is probably for the best. When the Sith Master explains his driving motives, they revolve around a desire for freedom to live his life as he chooses, without judgment or interference.
Freedom to wield my power the way I like.
The Jedi are basically concepts of traditional Judeo-Christian values, and his alternative lifestyle is suppressed by their rigid morality codes. Except Smiler Ren had an entire universe in which to do whatever he damn well pleased. The value system of the Jedi Order doesn't hang over every inch of galaxy after galaxy. This is consistent with asshole quasi-activist concepts of social discrimination, in that they're given no deeper consideration than the behavior of everyone everywhere is consciously or subconsciously prejudiced, so everything everywhere is unfair to me at all times. Fuck this theme as well, but I will say if the writers had something insightful to say about being LGBTQRST5+² in 2024, they could have said it directly in the narrative of the show, like the movie Kiss of the Spider-Woman in 1985, or Brokeback Mountain in 2005, which I guess work as my movie prescriptions du jour, rather than fumbling around of illusion and allegory. But there are still 2 episodes remaining, so it's possible I'm talking out of turn. Doubtful, but still possible. All that being said, point to the Acolyte for leaving a half-baked theme in the oven rather than serving it up. So let's see, where does that leave us? 3 rainbow crapums to the Acolyte against 4 golden crapums for Birdemic. I guess in 2024, Disney can almost tell a story that is more enjoyable than one of the worst movies in the history of motion pictures, but not quite. Of course, Birdemic was unintentionally hilarious in its brazen stupidity, while The Acolyte is about as much fun as staring at the screen in the DMV, waiting for your number to pop. But if a viewer's fascination of television is no deeper than lights in a box, there were some flashy ones in Episode 5, so there you have it, I guess. Oddly enough, the main protagonist in Birdemic Shock and Terror also appeared in the Book of Boba Fett, which probably says more about the decline of the Star Wars franchise than it does about the upward trajectory of one Alan Bogg. Though no offense to the man, he's just trying to make a living. Anyway, that's my thought for the day, and after watching all this bullshit, I think I'm gonna go touch grass. Like what you like, don't what you don't, it's all your call, Kemosabe. Take it easy, everyone.